Rhetorical vocabulary. Does not mean we
The
don't
word
have
is
to go
going
out.
to be.
Bildungsroman.
What? What?
What?
That sounds like a name.
I think you took the word from Harry Potter.
I'm sorry, Bill.
That's not real, but okay.
That's not.
It's not my key. Why is it?
The Colosseum.
It is German.
Oh, yes.
Are we gonna learn the word shout?
Wait.
We spent half the class talking about this word.
This is awkward.
Is that a U or a V?
It is a U. Bildung, like as in like, you know,
Okay.
dung beetle. Bildungsroman.
Oh, that's a U. Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't
Imagine
tell
if that was a
U.
U.
I thought that was a V. Wait.
Sorry.
Yeah. Wait. Wait.
not-
I'm gonna help you out.
Is it Latin?
It's German.
That still looks like a V.
Bring the line down.
Put a line on. There we
Yeah.
go.
Wait,
Now it looks like a Y.
VIL.
You're the
Oh my
worst.
gosh, Dane, you
Yes.
can't have everything.
Yeah, I can't.
Okay, so this story, this
Oh.
definition is, it's a story that deals with one person's formative years. I'm gonna write that down. Story that deals with one person's formative years. So it really needs to be about their childhood or about their teenage years. And it's ultimately about about their education. So that could be their sort of spiritual education, their psychological education, or their actual education, or their real education. What would we call that? Or their education. I just want to make it clear, most of these Bildungsroman stories, to be like a really good traditional Bildungsroman story, it actually is about somebody in school. So the most like famous one these days is going to be Harry Potter. Harry Potter is a Bildungsroman. It starts when he's 12, and so he's a young kid, right? And we get like every year of what his spiritual, psychological, educational growth is like.
What's the Latin roots of this word?
It's German.
It's
So
German,
it's
okay.
it's basically means, I think it means education story,
Fun.
pretty sure. Anyone speak German? Someone broke it down for me.
I know this.
I speak a little bit.
So do you recognize that word
No.
or part of it?
I mean, if I look it up probably in like translator, I probably pronounce it in German.
Yeah, yeah.
Pronounce in German right now.
Cameron,
Is there like a time frame for what would you consider this, because it's talking about
Great question.
growth? What if it's like a year?
Yeah, so it can be a year. It's it can't be.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
It can't just be about a character arc. So I had a bunch of people talking about like Pixar movies, and they're like, well, Nemo like goes on a journey and then he learns something, and so that's a Bildungsroman. It can't be that broad, or else it would be like every good story, because almost every good story has a character arc, right? But as long as it is about someone sort of like learning something, it could be any length of time, and the end result is that they kind of integrate into
so
society.
does Toy Story
So-
work?
It could be a year.
So wait, can Toy Story work?
Why would Toy Story?
Because when you wrote the definition, my mind. first
Andy,
went
because
to
at
the
the
way
end of
kids
Toy Story 3, he
explain
gives them up.
growing
Quiet.
Because when you first like gave the definition, my mind went to the way it kind of describes this.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that anyone would say that Knight was a more obvious example of a Bildungsroman, but I think you can make kind of a case for it, that he's sort of learning about indifference and kind of coming to conclusions that way. Let me give you some of the characteristics and write these under effects. So we're going to do lots of characteristics. So usually at the beginning, there's some sort of emotional loss. So yeah, so like a lot of Bildungsroman will start with parents dying. A lot of them.
Harry Potter. Harry Potter.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
And the reason is because it kind of sets our main
I was just saying
character.
like Star Wars.
adrift a little bit. If you have a comment, raise your hand. It kind of sets them adrift a little bit so that they are like on this journey to like find something about themselves. So a lot of them will start with an emotional loss, and a lot of them will include some kind of journey, whether that's metaphysical
Okay,
or.
this is just Star Wars.
But again, Star Wars isn't about an education. Star
He
Wars
knows
is
how to
about
use
an
the
adventure.
Force.
Yeah.
Education.
Is nothing spiritual?
Could Empire Strikes Back be a Bildungsroman?
I feel like the very first.
That section, yeah, just the section with Yoda.
What?
Yeah, 'cause like.
No, his section with Obi-Wan, you know how he's like fighting the little.
Right, yeah, okay, maybe it could count.
It is.
Okay.
So wait, I'm trying to think of any other Disney movies that like.
Ultimately, so another thing to add under effects. Ultimately, the goal is maturity. So that's why, oh, he's gone now, but that's why Walker's question is interesting, is because if the goal towards maturity, only lasts a year, then yeah, that's okay. As long as you like achieve that goal, then you are like going through that educational journey.
So like, I want to watch Star Wars, but wouldn't it be whatever this is, because it's like psychological, like force and like.
Yeah, but that's where, so
like
I
maturity. I don't know. I've never watched it, so.
I think, I think the only reason that Star Wars would count is because he actually is being trained. But you don't want to run into trouble like someone was like Tangled is a Bildungsroman. No, it's not. It's just a character arc, right? So it's not necessarily about her like going to school and learning math and learning potions and learning the Force. But because Star Wars has that kind of educational component to it, that he's actually learning a skill, I think we could call it a Bildungsroman.
Could make a case for the.
Yes.
base armor that it's just kind of a more metaphorical sense.
Yeah.
And so that's what's tricky is Bildungsroman is in a real sense, not a
It's a
metaphorical
little-
sense.
oh,
Because if it's in a metaphorical sense, again, that's just like a character learning something and changing.
So I found out the German word. It's Ausbildung, which means education, and Roman means noble. Noble?
Novel, education novel,
So
that's
we
a
have
not
to take it
story.
seriously.
Yeah, right,
So
exactly.
what it is, just education novel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, Lucy.
Wouldn't the long one, because she's like going and learning how to fight.
I think it's
Yeah, I think that could count as one. Yeah, because she's going to the fight school, to the military. Yeah, military kind of, there's a lot of like military school Bildungsromans too. Okay, the goal is maturity, but along the way, the character has a conflict with society. Usually this character is kind of a social outcast in some way. A famous example of this is Huck Finn. And so a character is kind of this outcast, like they're against like something that society represents. And ultimately they've got to kind of fall in line. So at the end, they fall in line with society and become a productive member.
Like after Harry Potter dies.
Well, what's so interesting about Harry Potter is like he becomes like the epitome of society. Like basically Harry Potter becomes a cop at the end, right? So like he had these maybe conflicts with the Ministry of Magic and like he was like seeing all this corruption in government, but by the very end, Harry Potter is a part of the government. So that's why it really fits with the building.
So society falls in with him.
Maybe, yeah, it can work either way. At least if they're coming to some sort of like, yeah.
So Anakin had all these troubles with the Jedi Council, so he turns around, kills them all, and then becomes the Emperor's
He
right
becomes
hand.
society.
Whoa.
So maybe the prequels could be a buildings from it too, yeah.
All of Star Wars just is.
So you're telling me that this is just the American education system?
It's German, so it's really like every education system, right? What is the point of education except for to bring you in
Preparing
line
you for
with
jobs,
jobs?
like to prepare you for jobs.
You know what? I'm not letting this be.
How about we, as Canada, develop an independent nation from the US?
Why doesn't
No.
Canada develop an independent nation from the US?
Well,
That's-
we're a
that's a
different
good-
Canada. We're a different Canada.
All right, so the reason I bring this up, can you see how the narrative of Frederick Douglass counts as a Bildungsroman?
Yeah.
He's learning how to read, he's learning how to write, and because he learns how to read and write, he is able to kind of escape, what he sees as this like conflict with society and get up to the north where he falls in line with society. And at the very end, his job at the end is actually to read and write. So it's like he became sort of like he kind of incorporated that education into himself, and he became like fitting into society. Yeah.
So with the learn education part, does it have to be like the main purpose is learning, or is it just like a part of it?
The main purpose needs to be learning.
Like the whole thing is about learning something, or there's like the person who has something.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so under example, write down narrative from Frederick Douglass. All right, then that's it for word of the day. Okay, so here's how today's gonna go. You're gonna have 15 minutes with your group to regroup and remember what you're doing for your presentation and fine tune it. So let me tell you what the goals are when fine tuning. You're gonna get a points out of 20 for this presentation. If you come up and not everyone has notes and you're having to like pass around notes and there's a lot of like awkward time while you're getting set up and like it's sort of like awkward and like, oh, you're supposed to go next. Oh, I'm supposed to go. I thought you were supposed to go. Like that's going to start taking down some points because that's taking away from the kind of like refinedness of the presentation, right? So you're trying to get up here and start right away. If that means writing something on the board, because I know a lot of us are doing that, have something else that people are doing while you're writing on the board, because you want to like use up every precious minute of it. So you're in these 15 minutes, you're going to refine like how that's going to work. I know all of you have like activities and you have your sentences and you have your analysis ready to go, but just think about the procedures of it. Everyone's going to use this 15 minutes, even if you have someone missing, because next class you won't get the 15 minutes. I'll give you like 2 minutes to make sure that everyone like catch the person up, but that's it. So make sure that you're using this time wisely. Does anyone have, and I will talk to this group separately.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions about how the presentations will go or what you're supposed to do or anything like that? You're all very prepared. Yeah.
Are we taking notes on other people's?
You'll have that blue sheet that I gave you with where you did like the titles and you did the counter arguments. I made that for you so that if you want to, you can take notes. Let's step back and look at the purpose of the presentation. So yes, I want to like help you learn how to present things. That is important in an English class because it's communication. But really, I want you to be able to write really good rhetorical analyses. And every group has a different sentence that they're going to come up and present, and they're going to talk about the rhetorical strategies. And anything anyone says in this class out loud is free for you to use in your paper. You can't copy off their work. That's plagiarism. But we're in a learning community. And so anything that somebody says out loud, you jot that down, you can use it in your paper. And there's a lot of smart people in this class that are going to say a lot of smart things. So you don't have to take notes. You don't have to take notes, but I very much recommend it for your benefit when you're writing papers. Okay, 15 minutes, regroup.
You don't have
I'm gonna wait for like okay, so what you are doing for this presentation is teaching the class about one sentence. So you want to find a sentence that's very powerful that stands out. I was now that's awesome. Yes, okay, so your presentations need to be 10 to 15 minutes. You might want to look at the paragraph and think about what you're going to say about the sentence. So think about like and you're trying to teach in a way that is engaging and that your fellow students will actually like really learn something from it. And so you can do that with some activity, you can do some object lessons, so you can have them writing, you can have them talking to each other. Some teachers like that. Some teachers do use that.
It would make them take more time.
But what you're ultimately trying to do is really just try to help them have a lot of sentences to say about that sentence so that if they want to try it out as a paper. And the goal is rhetorical analysis. So it's like, why did you choose to word this way? Does that make sense? So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm staying here for the first 15 minutes, and then I'm going to go out the hall for the first presentation. And it's gonna be that extra 15 minutes to start learning things. And it's really good idea to take a lot of notes every time in the room, because you'll get them very quickly. So if you're gonna ask people questions at the hall, write down the questions you're gonna ask. Or like, even like something answers your questions. Yeah, I never do that, but that is supposed to be how it is, where you wait 5 seconds and then you call on someone. Okay. Any questions or anything? Dane was here last time, so we got a spiel and I got a sense for what we were doing, right?
I was with them.
Oh, okay, so I'll just give you some ideas. Like, they're playing. And they've got something all set up. I had someone use a rubber band as an object lesson. I had someone everyone go into corners and rate and debate about things. I've had someone who's done that. That's a good one. They're doing heads up seminars. Sorry. But yeah, you can be creative with it. Just remember your main goal isn't to like have a great time, it's to have an educational time. Okay.
So how do we have the greatest time? Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so. So if you're at home for today, you're gonna take notes on the presentation. So I know I just said you don't have to. That's for the people who are here. If you're not here, you're gonna show me that you participated and that you watched the presentations by taking notes on each one, and I will record them. Okay, I know I don't have to say this, but while other people are presenting, give them all your respect. And if you're finding things that they say interesting that you could use in a paper, take some notes.
Raise your hand. All right, class. How's it going? So while they're writing the quote, we'll tell you the page number. On page 13 is the quote we chose. And we're gonna write the first like half of it or so. We'll talk about that. We'll play a little game. And then we'll go back to the second half of the quote and finish up the discussion. So as soon as they're finished, well, while they're writing this, think of to you what words stand out and what words you might want to talk about, because we have a question to ask you. So I guess that's as much talking I can do to.
Yeah, you're good.
To fill in the text. Give me a second. Yes, this is.
Oh, let me say one thing. This class, I don't think I need to say it because you guys are very good at participating, but just remember, if you participate in one groups by like offering answers, they're going to be way more inclined to participate in yours. So we're going to be really generous with that. Even like if you're not the type that usually raises your hand to participate, try. This is a good day to try. Okay.
That's exactly what we were looking for. Let's see. Okay, I like that, yeah. All right, so I have a quick question to ask you about the word innocent. So this chapter, for a little context, is talking about, well, Mr. Gore is in this chapter, and he's talking about how innocent, like Mr. Gore, how Mr. Gore would treat even an innocent slave. So the question I have for you is, what would be the difference between Douglas's and Mr. Gore's view on the word innocence? Any thoughts on that? Yeah.
I almost feel like a master of the sort would view innocence like somebody who's like childish and unknowing and like almost like they're not going to like try to defend themselves or anything because they're kind of like kept in the dark like that.
Yeah.
Whereas a slave might view it as somebody who has not done anything wrong morally rather than hasn't like
So like the masters like are thinking that these people are just like thinking of them as animals and that they don't have the mental capability to understand that they don't get to choose whether or not they're innocent or not. Yeah, I like that. Bradley, you like?
Slave master wouldn't even assume a slave can be innocent, like they're just inherently not who they are.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
I think there's a difference between the way it's viewed, like the slave master might view innocence as more of like innocent in context, like how sometimes a kid can be innocent, they still get in trouble all the time, right? Whereas Frederick Douglass would see innocence as more of like a basic freedom type thing, like innocent until proven guilty, not innocent until punished.
So when I hear like the positive thing, it almost reminds me of like how it gets. Oh, I have to take care of her. When I think master versus slave, the master sort of sees it as they're doing their work and not doing it. Where a slave might see it as they didn't do that bad thing that they were told they did. And they aren't able to prove that they didn't. So the slave's eyes guilty is they did something wrong, even if they did. Innocent for and guilty for a slave is they did.
So it's unfair.
Yeah, I don't know like my chart thingy, so or like a C chart. Okay, so innocence for the slave masters would be like ignorant, foolish, helpless. See it as like they see innocence differently than the slaves. So the slaves see it as like noble, honest, trusting. Like I am not what you were telling me that I am. And the slave master would see innocence as like almost like a little child, like ignorant and clueless.
I think that Frederick would think that I think a slave master's point of view would be that
Mhm.
So I'm gonna kind of go off of what Aaron said, because innocent. Yeah, like the slave master is more guilty. But no, he wasn't. Try to prove. No,
There's no chance. Yeah, I agree.
I also think that innocence is not flawed because of the
Yeah, those are great comments. Gabe?
So we're using games.
Okay, so we're gonna play 7-Up. Pretty sure a lot, heads up 7-Up. Pretty sure a lot of you have probably played this.
A long time.
Yeah, we can I'm gonna refresh, don't worry. So we're gonna have 6 of you guys come up here, and then they're gonna go out throughout the class, and everyone's gonna put their heads down with their thumbs up, and those 6 people are gonna touch everyone's thumbs, and or 6 people's thumbs. And if you get your thumb touched, you're gonna stand up. Once everyone puts their heads back up, you're gonna stand up and guess who touched your thumb. But we put a slight twist on it. People up here aren't allowed to talk, and I'm gonna be talking for them. So that's how it goes. Yeah. Yeah, you're up here.
Yeah.
Let's start out.
One.
One more.
Bradley.
All right.
And 4 of us are gonna stay.
All right. Come over here.
Hey, look who it is.
Okay. Oh, put your heads down. Put your thumbs up.
Put your thumbs down if you're picked. I hope you remember this.
Okay, heads up, 7-Up.
You know, only some people are allowed to talk.
I'm the only one allowed to talk.
Oh,
You're
okay.
talking for them. Okay,
Oh.
if you had your thumb touched, stand up. And yeah, that's everybody. Okay. We'll start on this side of the room, go over and just guess who touched your thumb. Okay, just saying. Oh, anyone up here, don't shake your heads or anything, sorry. I guess I should have mentioned that, that's my bad.
Don't
Yeah, no face, nothing. Okay, yeah. That's. Yeah. So you guys switch. I should have made that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Poker face.
No. Yes, actually, yeah. Who? Him? No. No. Yeah. Okay. So now you're over here too, and everyone's gonna put your heads down again, or we're gonna do one more round.
Oh.
Yeah. And put your, yeah.
Stone face.
All right, go touch someone's thumb. Heads up, 7-Up. Okay, we're gonna start on this side of the room again, make our way over. Yeah.
Wait. I'm so confused.
Okay, I think that's all the time that we have for the
Yeah.
round. So everyone up here, go and sit down and back up. Okay. Okay.
Ammon and Lucy. Said Ammon and Lucy. I'm innocent, but I picked you.
What?
And now we get to explain it.
Yes, all right. So, well, they're writing that part of the quote. Who has thoughts on that game? Did anyone notice anything? Anything they want to say? Yes. Anyone else? Yes.
I did not picture.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Isabella, but I didn't do
Yeah,
Isabella.
exactly. Well, does anyone have any idea how this might relate to the quote that we're writing right now? Yeah.
Because whatever kind of your master says as a slave, you don't get freedom of speech and you're kind of conflicted to whatever they say goes.
Exactly. Yes.
People up there were like the slaves, and they weren't allowed to tell you, like, you kind of just told them you did this, and they weren't allowed to say.
Exactly. Yep.
Who am I in this situation?
Your family.
Well, God. Who do you think I am?
Could you potentially
master or at least a white guy, I guess.
Let's just say white person. I am the person who committed all the crimes,
So him,
but
being-
I'm not guilty.
exactly.
Ever.
So, if you noticed, people would accuse him of being the one who touched their thumbs, and every time Matthew here would say, nope, it was not him because he's not guilty. It's just another
We told everyone
inequality
else
thing,
yes but me.
right?
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
And they have some questions to ask you.
Wait, who was accused of? How did you feel? How did you feel?
I was so confused. I was like, was I not supposed to like say it was not me? Just like really not on it, but I was like shocked and I don't know. I was like, oh, okay.
It's like kind of bothering you that like he
Yeah.
had to talk to you.
Yeah.
How did you feel? I was confused for about half a second, but
You gave up.
I did.
You can't fight it.
I knew y'all were doing something. I wanted people to have to sit down. I know. Okay, how do you think that that could like relate to them? Like, if they were accused of things that they like, it wasn't their fault, that they didn't do like. Not that.
Not us.
No, not that. Like, yeah, it's really if they have doubt. And I'm like,
I mean, kind of like what Emily said, that she just like listened and went to like receive what she was doing. And like this was just like got used to it. They just did what they were told. They weren't like, they couldn't say what they thought about it. They couldn't just say, I don't want to get you. I don't.
Okay, I gotta cut your group off. We're gonna get more today, but you did great.
That means we did it good. Woo, you did well. Woo, I'm so glad we added to it.
Like how quickly you had to like adjust to it too. Like Isabel was like, this is clearly an injustice. Oh, I guess this is just, I don't know the rules.
It was way too well for us. I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
yeah, you guys-
Okay. I don't want to sound like myself, just like me.
okay, hi everybody.
Okay, let's have quiet.
This quote that we're gonna write up is page 59, by the way.
Which page?
59.
Thanks.
Okay, so we're gonna start off with a little game. Does anyone want to win chocolate bar? Does anyone think they can do more push-ups than everyone else?
Oh.
Yeah, but I will freaking try.
I don't want to try. I might embarrass myself.
How many do you think you
I
can
will take the
I have no idea. I
barely
literally.
put out something?
I don't know if I can do it.
Three.
Can anyone do more than 3 push-ups?
That guy's the reason.
How much can you do?
He's like
20. Anyone more than 20?
Military push-ups or?
Bradley, how much can you
Certain
do?
day always. 90 degrees.
One. How much? More than 20?
No, what?
Okay. Anyone more than 21? Okay, do you want to come show us? Want to win it?
you want to show us?
I guess
Get
just
that
for the
chalk.
excuse to do push-ups.
Go around the chalk.
It's gonna be.
Go around and get the
I don't
chocolate.
think I can actually.
I will let you know. Get the chocolate, Bradley.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
those.
6,
boys.
7,
No, am I right?
Go around
there.
12,
13, 14,
He's more than halfway there.
17,
18.
19,
He's on the brink.
20,
The finish line.
21.
Yes.
Yay! Give him a hand.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Allison takes.
Oh, wait.
There it is.
Because you are a student of Dr. Borf, I'm gonna ask her to come forward.
And if she's feeling bracelet, she'll give you a piece.
I was really.
You're getting ready to tell.
Yeah, that was a little. That was
Now I'm glad I didn't try more.
I knew I wasn't getting the chocolate. I just wanted to do push-ups.
You just wanted to do push-ups? Okay. So we can kind of see in that instance a little bit. As we turn to this code, keep that in mind of what just happened last question about it. You guys want to take it over? So say, like,
1 second, I'm almost finished writing.
you got. Okay, anyway, Bradley, how'd that make you feel? to have that topic? You didn't look like
It
you were
would have
happy.
made me really upset if I wasn't expecting it, because everyone's doing the same thing here. But anyway, what I meant to say, I did hurt so bad, I was like, hey, that's rightfully mine. I did all the push-ups.
You also tried to keep it from her.
Yeah, you rebelled.
Yeah, that was.
He raised his hand against the mic.
Oh,
One man.
Uh, That was a bit of jest, but sure, yeah.
You know, she has power over you. She could change your grades in like 5 seconds, right?
Oh, yeah, dude, true.
She's like, yeah. And Dr. Burke, you wouldn't, Dr. Burke, you wouldn't share any too?
Are you gonna share with Peace?
I
With him?
did. I'm the one who made you do the presentation and bring the chocolate.
Are you gonna share it with him?
I literally.
Okay. Sorry, she's telling them to share. Okay,
Sorry, it's supposed to go the way you.
so.
I don't want to.
I'll take it. Okay. Everyone, do you know how much $1.50 was back then nowadays? How much is that worth now?
I'm gonna
No,
guess
it's
like,
inflation.
right, so.
A balloon. Go ahead.
A balloon. No. Close.
I'm not sure.
25, 24.
Oh, darn.
So $1.50.
Okay, remember to raise your hand
Okay,
Oh.
why am I raising my hand?
if you have a comment.
Oh. That's not even.
Okay, so that was, here it says that he was earning $1.50, which was $25.24 a day. That's 25 cents an hour for 6 hours. I don't know, how much is that now?
25 cents an hour.
I don't.
$1.
That means he worked 25, or 10 hours, right?
25 cents per hour for this one.
Oh,
So how much is that now?
So he made 25, 24 a day.
Guys, it's not that difficult.
For 6 hours.
Well, if that was like 12 hours of work, that'd be like $2.
For 6
Yeah.
hours.
6 hours?
So
Okay,
about $1.50.
While you're doing that, you
so.
Okay. Okay. While we're doing that, I was not getting, as I have said, $1.50 per day. I contracted for it. I earned it. It was paid to me. It was rightfully my own. Yet, upon each returning Saturday night, I was compelled to deliver every cent of money to Master Hugh. But there are a few things I want to point out to you. Contracted. Why contracted?
What's the difference between contracted?
Contracted and yeah. Cameron.
Oh, you said an employed?
Contracted versus employed.
Oh, I thought you said a different word. Wait, oh, I was gonna.
Oh, okay, Cameron.
Wait, I can say something?
Yes,
Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Give me some chocolate.
Go ahead and say something, Cameron.
Okay. This is the most effective demonstration so far. He doesn't get to speak unless he gets the chocolate.
Oh, that's not even part of the demonstration. Chocolate.
Can I speak?
So you're
Yes,
comparing
Cameron,
yourself to
talk.
slave-
I feel like my right to speak has been taken. Oh, I feel like.
I should get
That was
that.
not intentional. Cameron, talk.
Okay, when you say contracted, I thought of like disease, like it's inevitable. Like you can do, like you can do nothing about it, you're contracted,
And
you
in-
already have the thing.
In this
You can't-
circumstance, it is.
Yeah, see? Like that.
You almost got it.
There we go.
Okay, Walker?
Well, you specifically said why he was contracted instead of the word employed, and I thought of it, well, he is a slave, he is owned by someone,
I believe in this context, he's being like sent to work by Master Hugh. Is that correct? Yeah, so instead of him like choosing to employ whether or not he's making money, even though he's not making it for himself, like he's being told to work for a wage, which is like different than choosing to work. It's a
I don't know if this is like an actual word, but like what this made me think of was like you sign a contract to get something basically, and that's what this Master Hugh is doing to Frederick. He's basically signing a contract like you're my slave. I'm gonna send you out to work, but you have to give me all the money that you get.
I find it interesting too, because Frederick has no say in this,
Yeah.
it's not a contract of him, it's him and the other guy,
Which I couldn't say. It's a little different.
No, it's exactly the same. What are you talking about?
And yet, he does say like, I contracted for it, I earned it. So there is kind of like a sense of pride in that, that it's almost like, part of it is that if I work, I should get the money.
Why does that sound selfish, but it's like completely prideful?
Well, if you think about it, it's like your own job too, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's
Like-
like, I mean, if
Like how the
if you were just to read, if you were just to read like without the last sentence, then you could see it like some people could see it like, well, he's being a little selfish, like he's taking all that money. But with that last one at the end, you're seeing like everyone's gonna have a sense of belonging to their own stuff, and no one likes getting their stuff taken away, like regardless of who's doing it and what it is, even if it's like not worth a lot, which this is, but something small like chocolate, like it hurts to get it taken
And
away.
can I ask, who has a job in here?
I did.
Whoa, you have a job, Dr. Moore?
No way.
You all
Revolutionary.
like your jobs, but you all get a paycheck, right? I don't know when you get it,
Oh, yeah.
but that money is yours, right? You almost have a sense of self-belonging when you get your paycheck. And you're like, that's my money. I do what I want with it. It's not your parents' money. It's not your siblings' money to, it's not your boss's money to keep. It's your money to keep at the end of the week, and you worked hard for it, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but why does the government take like 7%? I'm really sad about that.
To keep you alive in hospitals.
I work for the school district, so I don't really know if I lose any money because I don't really see it till I get paid.
See your hourly rate and how many.
I know how much I make in an hour every hour, and I really don't care about calculating how much I make. I just take whatever they give me.
Anyways, not talking about taxes.
Okay,
I know.
do any other words stand out to you in this?
The word,
Is gone.
the word suffers. No,
Rennie, you got a dictionary.
Sadie? I was gonna say delivers.
Because it's almost like the tone of it is like lighthearted, like, oh yeah, you're like delivering mail. Instead of it's like it's being stripped from me, it's like I'm just delivering.
Almost like a negative connotation type thing.
For compelled, I was gonna say.
Yes.
I like every sin that comes right after deliver, because what like even what we were just joking about, like about taxes, like you're having a little bit taken away. When he says every cent, it's like every cent, and that has a lot more like shock kind of value to it.
Emphasis on it.
Yeah, it's fine. Kind of like instead of saying like I was called to deliver, like he's compelled in the case of more aggressive, more like forced to, more like I don't know, because you would look like your pet, you would like not you don't like you don't say I'm gonna compel my pet, but you're like calling it over and then just come to you. Yes.
Also,
Do you guys notice anything with structure?
Cameron, you can talk.
You can't.
Yeah, that's
we're
okay.
picking
Go
up
ahead,
every-
Ashley.
So it's very like, I can practice for it, I earned it. It was right. Yeah, that parallel. Why do you think that's? It's very like sharp, it's like, it's fine, it's not anybody else. Very angry on it. Yeah. Like you can tell he's upset about it, you know?
Like you said, like it was. My master.
That kind of shows too, so I can't say. He's getting almost a more sense of belonging. I think we see through the book, we can see him developing from like the innocent kid that has so much trauma and going into more in-depth freedoms, like becoming less innocent about all the freedoms that he's missing out on. And we can kind of see through this. I think he sees that all these other people are getting their own, but he wants it too. You know?
I think also that structure, like having that pattern of like contract, earn, it's like, it drives in this point because it's like going like a list, like point by point, every reason why this is mine. It's very repetitive structure, which really drives it like a point that like this is mine.
You can talk.
Okay, so who's gonna throw this at you? Sorry, okay, this sentence, I feel like he reiterates it, but and vice versa in the end of the book, when he was being prideful of his work, he was still prideful in this, but he, okay, but at the end of the book, he said, I did all this, I made all this work, and the result is mine. In this one and the later text, he's still saying it's his work and it's his pride and it's his. But at the end of the book, he's finally rewarded for being himself when this he's being rewarded for nothing.
I think he likes it better too. Likes working.
Okay, I gotta cut you guys off. Good job. Like the fruits of his labor, like the actual evidence of his labor is the book itself, you know.
Okay, they get to honesty.
Okay, well. can you go without this? But if you can't, make sure they know your part. Okay. All right, last group, go ahead.
Okay. Let's.
This is gonna come to a big surprise to you guys. We're gonna play a game.
Do you have something that I can get?
Okay. We need two teams. We're gonna split.
Like
What
10
is
and
going
11.
on?
Wait, we're not, no, we're
just gonna
like
split
splitting
down
you.
the middle. You guys are a team and you guys. No.
We're
No.
gonna.
It doesn't matter.
We're splitting right here.
We're splitting down this one.
Wait, me?
Okay, so you guys are a team, you guys are a team.
Sorry,
It-
that was really.
Okay, and then,
Please listen.
there's not a lot of space in the front of this room, but everyone come up to the front of the room.
You can push the desk back.
Yeah.
Violet?
Maybe.
Violet?
But not violent.
I can come up. I'm kind of worried about that.
Side of the side.
Oh, okay. Hi, Walker.
I
love
the
this.
side
Pick a
that
side.
you're on.
Pick- It doesn't matter. Pick a side.
This is the better side already.
Okay, so. You guys get 3 pieces of paper and a piece of tape.
Okay.
You guys also get 3 pieces of paper and a piece of tape.
Okay.
You can only use the paper and the tape. You both have 5 minutes, both teams have 5 minutes,
Are we doing 3 minutes or 5 minutes?
5,
Okay.
and then make the tallest tower you can. Go.
Ready, go. In 5 minutes, yeah. You can like.
I did this in
remember-
engineering.
You're
Do
not
whatever
doing
I
this,
want.
you're
You
just
don't
gonna
trust
come
me.
back here to do this.
No,
Yeah.
can
You know
only
what,
use
guys,
the
you're
strip of
given
tape.
tape, and those 3 sheets of paper and make the tallest tower.
For our team.
Oh, yeah.
For us.
You wanna go back there?
I'm too short for that. Let's go back.
Yep. They didn't say anything about any other rules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of feels like.
It's not.
Try to
It's
have
just-
everyone work on it.
It's really.
We're also only measuring from the base of the tower to the top of the tower. It doesn't matter if it's on a table.
What if we rip them in half? Like,
Oh, that's the question. Okay.
Does that have to stand?
Okay, that's good, yeah.
I mean, I feel like I
I'll
asked.
ask.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Like.
Sorry, I thought you were
vertical
asking me a
height.
question, then I got confused. I was like, hey.
Also,
Okay.
let's do it so that.
I need to go get my.
yeah, I think the smaller one, you don't want to have on top. Oh, yeah.
Hey, are we allowed to just take a?
but it won't be like big.
If you put it on both.
You're not supposed to.
Yes.
Technically, we use the tape.
You never said anything about.
Don't get sour.
You're gonna.
Well, we said we're measuring the base tower.
Oh, there was.
And then. it's gonna expand.
I guess if you find loopholes, whatever, as long as you don't actually break the rules.
Hey, they're making their thing really thin, so it's.
Okay. So now.
That's not how that works. But yeah, no, crazy.
There's 3 minutes left.
3 minutes.
that technique.
Oh, team. Let's go up and let's.
Yeah, back in the day. Love the mix. Let's go make it all warm, baby.
Don't even know.
I'm not gonna read the quote yet.
Hey, are they allowed to cross over?
What?
Those two aren't in our group.
We knew this would happen.
It's no one.
Just remember your heritage.
My heritage.
Know what group you're in. That's what
2 minutes.
That's pretty sweet.
Just tape it to the ground.
There's no rule.
Just like tape it together and just like tape it just.
illegible.
Yeah, me too. I'm like the only one I know about handwriting.
Sadie, you see my handwriting?
Good.
Yay!
It's better than mine.
Mine looks so good.
Beautiful. I don't know how many minutes we have left. Bradley, what's our time? Pull out and
60 seconds left.
1 minute.
Sadie, do you measure the
You're
tape
done?
too?
You're done? Okay. Time up then.
You guys are done?
Yep, yes, sir.
Okay.
Spread out so we can see.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands up.
You
Yay.
might need a ruler.
I am a ruler.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna use some
Then they go back
abstract,
to their seats.
not yet. We're gonna use some abstract measurements.
I'm just gonna use my arm.
We're using Bradley's arm.
rulers. You got rulers?
I lied, we're gonna use rulers.
Okay.
I lied.
We're gonna use our foot sizes. I'm so scared right now.
Don't touch it.
Cameron, come on.
Oh, what did it do with the teacher?
So that Bradley can properly say.
Yeah, Radley, properly measured.
This guy sucks.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be that guy.
This one's taller.
Yeah, let's go.
Your team made the tallest tower, you lose.
What?
Shut up, everyone. We We didn't say whoever makes the tallest tower wins. We said make the tallest tower. You guys made the tallest tower, so you lose. You guys didn't make the tallest tower. You also lose. Go back to your desks.
Oh, sweet.
I did it.
Wait, was it?
Everyone go back to your desks.
I'm
still
still sitting here.
Okay, also, the actual winning team was Team 3, which is us, the leaders.
Okay.
Alright,
Alright.
if you're part of group
Okay.
one, come over here.
Yeah.
Part of group one,
If
come
you're
over
part
here.
of group one, make sure you're on this half of the parade. If you're part of group two, stay on that half.
Wait.
If you're group one, stay over there.
Yeah, I got
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Is everybody?
I'm waiting.
Can I ask you guys a quick question? How do you guys feel about this game?
Well, I think it's okay. I had some fun, but at the same time, I mean, it's a little bit misleading. Just to say, make the tallest tower, like automatically you assume if you accomplish that, then you can do it.
But you probably still feel better that you built a taller tower,
Yeah.
even if you didn't win because of it.
That's all that matters.
Say what you're raising.
Oh, yeah, yeah, we're Canada.
I think this game relates to, okay.
If you had like any metaphor to
Just walking around.
Yeah, you can talk. Yes.
No. Yes, you can talk.
Just makes me bigger.
Nice. I don't know. That's so relatable, dude. Here. You guys still feel like they're better than you because they made a taller tower, even though they didn't.
No, they suck.
Yeah, are you still mad at them? for not making a taller tower, even though that didn't matter whether you won or not?
If none of us won, we don't, I don't.
It could be.
I feel superior.
Yeah, see, this is what they're, they
Where's
still
my
feel
book?
better. Okay.
Yes. I think I got.
There's an exclamation mark.
So our quote is gonna be on page 12.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
It's gonna be the last sentence of the paragraph before chapter 4.
Okay.
Okay, take it away.
All right, so what did you talk about in your groups with episode? Yes?
Yeah,
What did you talk about while the two people went to go discuss?
well, we talked about, like, even though, like, we talked about how it was a little bit misleading to know that if someone, like, if you're told build the tallest tower, you assume that building the tallest tower means that you win. But even though we lost, there's, like, we still feel kind of happy about the tallest tower.
So how you feel right now, like how you feel happy, how does that relate to this quote?
This is,
I think Cameron wants to say something.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah, what do you want to say?
I'm really good with coming up with information on the spot. So regardless of the fact that we feel pride in our work, even though we won, we still lost because we were doing the work for someone else. But in relation to the quote, I don't think you guys are rich, and the work we were doing was not justified for any improvement of any wealth, society, or social reasons. So building that tower doesn't accomplish anything besides passing time. So I would kind of relate that to the fact is that if you're being a slave to someone who is rich, you're doing something, but if you're a slave to someone who's poor, your work becomes even more minuscule, which is kind of what this was. It was probably the smallest amount of work we could ever do because it doesn't help with anything. So it was just a distraction.
Yeah, exactly. So what I wanted to go for, like with this game, was that it was just stupid. Like it's like, well, it's something we were gonna do like heat rings or something, like picking that up, but even that would still have like
Too much value.
Yeah, too much value. Like, it's like, oh, I can eat this. Like, no, you don't get anything. It's paper and tape. Like, you can't eat that, you know? You could if you tried, but don't please.
I've eaten Starburst wrappers.
Yeah.
Told me you can eat them. I ate it in a clear bag.
It's wax.
I didn't know you
Okay,
could peel the wrapper off
sorry.
Starburst until I was 8 years old.
Guys, what did this group, how did you guys feel about that? Yes?
So I don't think any of us really participated enough, except for if there were like factors. But we still felt kind of crappy because like we all lost.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But the weird thing is you're like, oh my gosh, we lost, but then we all both lost. Like
Yeah.
we're not
And
handing out
What
anything out.
what mattered to you isn't the work you put in, it's the team that you belong to. And we know that the way this turned out, it ended up being there are some people that didn't really get to contribute to their towers, and yet the people that were in the group that made the tallest tower still are like,
You
hey,
still
we're the
felt that pride.
better group, even though you're all losers.
Okay, how do you think, will you scoot over? Really quick? Okay, how do you think that relates to this quote and specifically in the book? Like, how do you think our game relates to that? Yes?
Like no matter what, you're gonna lose. So I feel like for this particular quote, like we're all slaves kind of in this scenario. And I feel like you're like a loser to be a slave already, but I feel like a slave to like somebody who's already like so low on the social ladder, it's even worse for you as a slave.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yes?
It really gives perspective to how like badly they could be treated. Like they were the lowest of the low, like no matter what, like they were always at the bottom.
Right, like how ridiculous it is that
Even
these groups of people feel superior to other people, even though they're all still just slaves.
like even slaves that could read, write, and had like really good language skills, like maybe even like multilingual slaves, like they still would be treated as lower than drunks that didn't even have a house.
Yeah.
Like
Zoe?
So I think that also, it was bad to see lifetime program be a master because it's almost like I feel like they want to show their power more. Like they want to have more control because they don't have that much.
Yeah, exactly. So they want what little bit of like competition they make between themselves, even though it doesn't even exist. Yeah. So it's like with our game, we were like, okay, make the tallest tower. We didn't say you're gonna win, and you guys made the competition that it was gonna win. Yeah, we didn't even say that. So it's like, okay. I was told you were raising your hand.
Oh, I did really, yes. I was what Bradley said about how it's like seems ridiculous. I think in the quote, he gives us the ridiculousness with the exclamation point at the very end.
Right.
Like, it's in a disgrace indeed. So in this class, we didn't talk about verbal irony. So that was my way of just like sneaking that in.
Yeah.
Being a little sarcastic. Yeah, go ahead.
I put that in my thingy, so let's talk about
Yeah,
that.
it's
Okay,
like
go ahead.
My paper.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I said, he uses sarcasm to show how ridiculous it is that some people feel that way. Like, the way that he says it's a disgrace indeed, it's almost like he's, like the verbal irony and stuff, he's saying, like, oh, it's just such like disgrace, instead of like, this is a bad thing. Disgrace is like, the word is almost, it's small, it sounds funny. It's like doesn't
like
sound like
you
it
were
really
saying-
is horrible.
You had a point about that with deliver too, and I think it works the same way, where it's almost like a highfalutin word about like manners, and it shouldn't apply to this
Right.
situation.
And it's like, it's almost ironic because you feel like their their owners, their masters are the people that they would resent and hate, the people that cause them all this trauma. And yet, instead of relating to each other like, yeah, this sucks, they're like, no, my master is better than yours, thus I'm better than you.
Okay, did anyone else want to say something, Bella?
So it's like I thought of it a little bit different because it's already saying give a slave is already back. So in my group, for example, like how some of us did it like and like Riley just like right away she was like, okay, I got this, like she knew what she was doing. So like she felt that pride of knowing. But those who like, for example, like slavery, those who like didn't know how to read or write, and those who didn't know how to read or write, they were both kind of losing the end. They're both, slaves. Even though those who read or write had more of a pride in them, And so kind of like those who didn't know how to read or write, it's like a poor man's like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. I really agree with that. I think like even though you guys were working, like some of like Riley was working harder than some of the other people in the groups were, you're still both losers. Like you still both didn't win and you're both on the same like playing field. Like you still have this oppression in your life.
Like
Yeah,
it gives them the illusion that they're participating in the capitalism, but they don't actually get any of the benefits of it except for this weird superficial pride.
Yeah. And the superficial pride we're making you feel bad about. That's the point.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was a great object lesson. I gotta cut you off. That was so good. If you were in the group that went today, I think like the groups that went today just did a really good job.
We
So
did
they're
it.
good
Sucks to
models
be the
for
next
how
group.
it'll go next time.
It was
Will you
all
raise your
me.
hand if the group did not go today? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 groups next time. So we won't do a word today. We'll just get right into it.
But it's also like.
It's, you know, it's